In this thesis and dissertations training video, we'll go over how to create an automatic list of tables and an automatic list of figures. I've got one of the thesis and dissertation templates open right here. So we'll get started by going down to the first figure. The first thing we have to do is we have to tell Microsoft Word that it's looking for captions. And we will do this by going up to the Insert menu and dropping down to Caption. So when you first get the caption dialog box open, you'll see that it's trying to tell us that we're captioning a table, which is incorrect. We're trying to caption a figure. So to correct this, we'll go to Label and we'll choose Figure. If you are working with a lot of maps or a lot of schema and you want to have them in their own lists, you can also create a new label and you can call it whatever you want. Map, schema, photo, painting, if you've got scans of paintings, and so forth. We'll just cancel for now. Also in this place, you can edit the numbering style. So if you're using numbered headings where you've got Chapter 1, and then the first heading is 1.1, and the second heading is 1.2, this is the best way to take care of getting your figures and your captions to be figure 1.1, figure 1.2, and so forth. So we'll click the numbering button, and you'll choose whether you want to use Roman numerals, letters, and numbers. And this would be where you include your chapter number. So to get Chapter 1, and you've got it based out of your headings, it will come from heading 1. You can choose your separator if you wish. Since this document is not formatted with that particular style of heading, I'm just going to cancel out of this, but it's nice to know it's there. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And so we see we've got figure 1, and this one has a gray square around it, and then the original figure 1 that we had typed. I'm going to delete the second and highlight and change the first to be italicized. You will notice that if you click in the caption now that we have the caption formatting set. If you are using a different document, you may find that it has put the preset default style on your caption. If it's done this, you'll probably want to change it because the Microsoft default is almost always smaller than your body text and quite frequently blue. So to correct this, we'll hover over the corner and click the arrow that appears, and we'll modify the style. So you can change the text back to the font that you're using for the rest of your document, correct the size to the size you're using in the rest of the document. Figure captions and tables can be single-spaced or double-spaced. Long figure captions are much easier to read if they're single-spaced. They also take up less space. But this is going to depend on what your advisor wants to see as well. So we've got, this is where we would correct things to get back the way we want. We'll say OK. Now your figures can be centered or aligned left. It's up to you as long as it's carried out consistently throughout the document. If you wanted to have everything centered, that's perfectly fine. If you want to have the figure caption aligned left and the image centered, that's fine too. This document's formatted so that everything's left aligned, so I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to go down to the next one, and we will do the same thing. We'll put the cursor right before the FM figure. We'll insert the caption, and it'll already have numbered it, and so now we just hit OK and delete the second instance of the word figure. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest. There's about 3 or 4 more, so I'll take care of that and I'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, so I have set the captions for all of my figures in the document now, and now I'm going to go from this hand-typed list of figures and I'm going to replace it with the automated list of figures. So I'm going to highlight all of this and delete it. And I'm going to, it looks like I've managed to get my text centered, so I'm going to align it left. Now I'm going to come up to the Insert menu again. This should look familiar. This is where we got the captions. But rather than a caption, we're going to go to Index and Tables. You'll want Table of Figures, It's the third of 4 tabs. If you've got your table of contents double spaced or single spaced with space after, you can make some additions and changes here. You may find that it's coming up to table automatically. You'll just want to change your caption label back. If you want to make modifications, you want to make sure you're using from the template. And I'm going to go in and modify it because I like to see a little bit of space between my lines, but I like everything to be single spaced. And this is personal preference. As long as you carry it through your entire document, it should be no problem. It's under the paragraph. I'm just going to put a little bit of space after, about half a line. It's just enough to visually separate everything. So okay, and we'll apply. And so you can see how it's going to look in the preview panel here. Everything else looks good, so I'm going to click OK, and it's built it. So we've got a little bit of blank line after the entries, but each entry itself is single spaced. If you've got very long figure captions and you don't want to have an entire explanation of a process in your actual caption that's showing up in the list of figures, you just want a label, that's pretty easy to correct. So I'll go down to figure 1 and show you an example of what I'm talking about. If we just want to note that finding unprotect document is what's going to be in this figure to the reader, we can move everything after the important information down to the next line. And I did that by pressing the return key. Because figure captions are read between the end of the previous line and the next return, you'll only have figure 1, finding unprotect document, appear in the table of or the list of figures now. So if I come up to the list of figures, I right click and choose update field, update the entire table. It's shortened that right up. Alright, so we've done the figures and I've got one table in this document. We could leave it like this, but for the sake of argument, I'll go ahead and show how to switch up the labels. Just went right past it. So, we'll do what we did before. We'll insert the caption. We will change it from figure to table. And we'll say OK. Oops. We will delete the second table 1, and then we'll come up, replace the table 1 with the automated table. So insert, index and tables, make sure it says table in the caption. It should carry over any settings you changed in the previous one. We'll click OK. And there it is, table 1. Now what's happened here is almost the exact same thing that I demonstrated for shortening the figure captions in the list of figures. So let's come down to the table title, and I can show you how to correct this. If I turn on the hidden characters, you'll see that there is a paragraph mark here and here. This is what's preventing the title of the table from appearing in the actual table or list of tables. So I'm going to press delete and delete. Now we've got it all on one line, but that's not proper APA style. So I will hold down the shift key and press return and return again. By holding down the shift key while we press return, we get these different marks, the little bent arrows, and these are known as soft return. So to finish it up and get it to look exactly like it did before, I will highlight the line and put the italic text back on, and then I will put a border on the line below to get the line across, and we'll just increase the weight a little bit so that it matches the other lines. So there's our table put back in. Now we'll go back up to the list of tables and we'll update. Right click, update field, update entire table. And there we've got the full table title. If you don't want the italic to appear in your list of tables, you can press italic twice to remove the style. I would just wait and do this at the end before you send it in. Similarly, you can take it off there by pressing the italic style button twice. This is really the ideal time to do all of this is really toward the end of the formatting, once you know that your figures and your tables aren't going to be moved around within the document. Sometimes making the corrections can take a longer time than it does initially putting it on, so this is probably something best left towards the end of the process.